Gaming Bolt presents Top 15 Toughest Puzzles in Video Games. We have a lot to cover here, so let us dive right in. The Rubber Duckie, The Longest Journey. The infamous Rubber Duckie is a key character in The Longest Journey, mostly because of the horrible struggle you need to go through to progress with it. You need to retrieve a key from an electrified subway track by gathering a clamp, a clothesline, a rubber ducky, which has to be punctured by throwing breadcrumbs at it to attract seagulls, inflate it again, fit the clamp in, deflate the duck, and finally get the key. A gold ring was involved somewhere. We don't care, and neither should you. Shakespeare Puzzle, Silent Hill 3. Though this puzzle only appears at the harder difficulties for Silent Hill 3, it required you to organize a collection of Shakespeare books together. Seems easy enough, except the clue provided by arranging them can only be figured out by knowing which stanzas are from which play. You also need to change numbers, mess with a few things, and probably hunt down Pyramid Head so he can put you out of your misery. The Deaf Prisoner, RuneScape. Believe it or not, many players still enjoy RuneScape to this day. The free-to-play MMORPG has some very obscure puzzle solutions though, such as when you need to infiltrate a jail to talk to a deaf prisoner. From here, you need to use a pipe from the windowsill, collect a blade from your smashed ink bottle, cut a hole in an accordion, create a vacuum, attract a seagull using your fish stew-soaked clothes. Oh, don't worry, there's more. And then use the vacuum to suck up the seagull and shoot it at the deaf prisoner to get his attention. Did you think you just pass him a note? Ha! Water Temple, Zelda Ocarina of Time, Master Quest. You can't really call yourself a Zelda veteran unless you've played Ocarina of Time, the N64 masterpiece that many still claim to be the best game of all time. However, it's also home to one of the hardest dungeons ever created, the Water Temple, which required you to change water levels in order to access different areas. Zelda games as such can be quite mind-boggling for players, but Master Quest, the special GameCube edition of Ocarina of Time, took this to an even more sadistic level. The Goat, Broken Swords, The Shadow of the Templars. Your greatest nemesis in Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars is a goat. Let us repeat that for you, a goat. How do you conquer this mighty foe and advance forward when he headbutts your every advance? Why, by getting up quickly, running to a plowshare nearby, allowing him to headbutt you again, and then conveniently getting him tangled. How do you figure this out? What hints do you use? Which corner do you retreat to in your house that isn't haunted by headbutting goats? We don't know. Chamber 18, Portal. Portal is generally a challenging game, even when you get the hang of Twitch portal shooting and moving around between portals. Chamber 18 puts those skills to the test though, as it challenges you to hit timed switches, avoid turrets, jump on platforms, and manage different portions where portals can't be created. It's a pretty stressful ramp up from the usual fare, and makes us think GLaDOS wanted the player to die of nervous breakdown more than anything else. The Black Monolith, Fez. Phil Fish is quite the controversial figure in gaming, but with Fez's Black Monolith, it's hard to deny his hatred for some players. Press a random set of buttons to make the Black Monolith appear. Good job! Now press another random set of buttons to unlock the Black Monolith. Puzzle solved, right? Except there was no indication ever given to what the button combinations were. It was only after the community as a whole banded together that it was actually solved. Well played, Phil Fish. Well played. Water Sample, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Look at this. Just look at this. In Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, you come across the water sample puzzle, which has matching cubes to piece together a set of wave ranges. Did we mention the correct result varies each time you experience the puzzle? If you screw up and die, then you can't just use the solution from last time, or a walkthrough for that matter, to solve it. As horrific as the Nemesis can be, there's simply nothing as terrifying as the prospect of encountering this puzzle after several failed attempts. Waiting on the Telephone, PT. Contrary to a lot of puzzles on this list, it didn't take long for many players to decipher the intricacies of PT's puzzles within the first week it launched. Of course, this was due to the collective power of the internet investigating. Some puzzles, like having to wait by the telephone near the end, unmoving until it rang twice, were completely out of left field and impossible to predict. Then again, considering this is the same game that wanted you to find a picture piece within the brightness settings menu, it's probably not all that far-fetched. Garlic Bottles, Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box. In Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box, you're tasked with feeding a hungry dog to progress forward. Sooner or later, you come across a store owner who will help feed the dog if you solve his puzzle. Use the provided corks to plug up the pathways in the maze that lead to the garlic. The maze itself is a tangled mess, so you need to guess which holes need to be plugged. The catch? All the paths lead to the garlic, and you actually need to stuff the corks up the nose of the man who doesn't want to smell it. We just can't at this point. The Spider Chair, Myst 4 Revelation. Everything about this puzzle screams Myst and bad news. Sliders that have to be adjusted? Check. Notches on the sliders? Check. Drums with ratchets? Check. Chessboards that probably provide some clues? Check. Bombs? Circuit boards? Elevators? Are we still playing the same game at this point? If you think adventure puzzles can go crazy with their switches, then you clearly haven't experienced the Spider Chair puzzle in Myst 4. Gnome's Name, King's Quest. The original King's Quest is an originating point of sorts for many future adventure games, but it contained one of the most infuriating puzzles ever created. You encounter a gnome whose name you must speak. Sounds a lot like Rumpelstiltskin, right? Except you have to spell it backwards with barely a clue provided. Alright, no problem there. Except that's not the solution either. You actually have to match the normal alphabet with the alphabet reversed and then replace each letter accordingly. For example, E would be replaced by V. That's the kind of reversal that was expected. You may now facepalm accordingly. No Way Forward, Shadow of the Beast 2. No list of difficult games is complete without Shadow of the Beast, but its sequel went even further. The game allows you to ask questions, and this mechanic is explored when you have to hit one of two switches to progress forward. The switches are randomized, of course, so you need to ask the kind gentleman who warned you about traps ahead which one would be correct. Of course, then you have to kill a giant monster at the bridge, except you're not supposed to, and if you do, your progress is dead. If you don't kill it, you get transported to an alternate dimension with a snail. Ask the right question, and remember, this game is programmed for thousands of different responses, and you can leave. Except you need to pay coins and you have to gather all 36 coins in the game. We'd continue, but it's obvious at this point that Shadow of the Beast 2 just hates its gamers. Braille Puzzles, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. What's worse than trying to collect every single Pokemon in Nintendo series? Trying to find the legendaries in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire that can only be located by understanding Braille. Yes, Braille. You must first locate a sealed chamber, decipher a few descriptions written in Braille, and then wander out into the world to find 3 doors that have mysteriously opened in different locations. Then you get to solve more Braille puzzles like waiting. Exciting, we know. It doesn't help that the Pokemon you could acquire were uninspiring to say the least. The Owl, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake is arguably one of the best stealth games of all time, but even dedicated fans can't defend the logic of this puzzle. You need to infiltrate a base by sneaking past a laser net and not alerting the guard on duty. Unfortunately, the only way through is via the front gate with the laser net. Oh, but the base shuts off its power at night when everyone sleeps. The problem is, the time of day never changes. This leads to you finding an egg, hatching it to retrieve an owl, and having this owl hoot near the guard to convince him that it's nighttime so he'll disable the laser net. Yeah, we lost ourselves an owl. And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button. See you soon.